Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And good afternoon, Steve Jones Show, News Radio 1070 WKOK. You can find us at stevejonesshow.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Twitter handle at SteveJonesPSU, and our email. You can drop us a line anytime, stevejones@WKOK.com. And Sean Kerry, Steve on his way into the Sunbury Motors Studios. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai, and the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia on the Strip, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Monday edition of the Steve Jones Show, brought to you by our great friends at Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury. Now that we have made it in to the new year, when was the last time you checked your insurance policy? Could be time for an upgrade where you make sure everything you need covered to be covered. Because when life happens, that's when Purdy Insurance and the great people there go to bat for you like it happened to them. So go to purdyinsurance.com or stop in and see them on Market Street in Sunbury. We'll be with you live till 5 here on WKOK. And Sarah Bennick at the anchor desk this afternoon. She'll have the late day news roundup after 5. And then tonight we go to CBS Sports Radio. National Championship game. You locked into that tonight as well. Find out who gets the infamous Dr. Pepper Trophy. Will it be Alabama or will it be Georgia? All of us on Friday in our picks segment took Alabama, including the suit, now the 4-time defending Bowl Picks champion. Coming up this afternoon, 3:35. It's been a while since we've had Dieter Kurtenbach on the show. Dieter was first on with us close to 2 years ago. He was pretty much our NBA Finals embed when Cleveland was on that great run in the NBA Finals championship. Dieter is now a columnist for the San Jose Mercury News, and he also hosts his daily Dieter podcast. So Dieter is pretty much locked into the Oakland area, and the news broke over the weekend. It was pretty much the worst-kept secret in the NFL the last few weeks. With Jon Gruden becoming the new head coach of the Oakland Raiders, we will get Dieter's thoughts on that and much more as he joins us this afternoon, scheduled to join us at 3:35. We invite you to, so we mentioned Dieter's podcast. Well, we have a podcast as well. We invite you to subscribe to our Steve Jones Show podcast. Once the live show is finished on WKOK less than an hour later, we drop the show as a podcast on both the Apple Podcast app, Google Play, and iTunes. And thanks to everybody that's been listening in, especially over the past few weeks with Penn State football coverage leading up to and including the Fiesta Bowl. So give our podcast a subscription. Send it straight to your phone and tablet once we drop it every weekday afternoon here from WKOK. Speaking of Penn State football, one of the great quarterbacks of all time, first-team All-America from the 90s, Kerry Collins. He has been elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. He'll be part of the 2018 class, and he will be inducted into the Hall of Fame later this year in December at the annual awards dinner in New York City. A total of 13 inductees, 10 players, 3 coaches will be recognized, and accomplishments forever immortalized at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. Collins is the 25th member of Penn State football to be elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. The most recent player inductee was back in 2014, Shane Conlon, former Nittany Lion player, current native of Lock Haven, living in Lock Haven, Bill Bowes. He was enshrined into the Hall of Fame last year as the University of New Hampshire head coach. Bill Bowes was a former Penn State football captain back in the 60s. Getting a quote from Kerry Collins, I'm extremely honored to be included in the College Football Hall of Fame class of 2018. I was surrounded by great players and coaches during my time at Penn State and was fortunate to have been part of an unbelievably talented, undefeated 1994 Big Ten championship team. My years at Penn State were special, and I'm eternally grateful for the support and guidance I received there as a student athlete. I'd like to congratulate the other members of this year's class and also thank the National Football Foundation for the privilege of joining the long list of Nittany Lions previously inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So big congratulations to Kerry Collins, as he will be going into the College Football Hall of Fame coming up in December officially. It'll be the 61st National College Football Foundation annual awards dinner. That'll be in New York City coming up December the 4th.
Oops, there we go. There we go. You can probably hear me better now.
There you go.
We had another power outage here.
It was funny. I kind of keep tabs of the total time that we're connected. We were almost at 440 straight hours of connected between your place and our place, and I guess we'll blame it on the wind, blame it on the snow. So.
Well, I don't know. No, you know what? You know what's really odd? And this now it hasn't happened here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. But all of a sudden we'll get this blip and the power goes out for like 10 seconds and then it comes right back. And we don't know why. So what happens, though, is that now from the show point of view, why is that significant? Well, when the power goes out, that means I have to reset everything in here to do the show. In other words, it doesn't just come back on, hey, we're back on, we're good. No, it's not the...
A few extra switches, a couple of buttons.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, we've had a few places here in the central Susquehanna Valley dealing with some power glitches and outage here and there. Actually, a couple school districts, especially further south of Sunbury, just enough snow came down this morning to cause some early dismissals earlier today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's now in the rearview mirror.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's in the. But see, when that happens here, in other words, I'm not even done resetting it here. I have to reset everything, including the clock, for example, which says 7:00. Maybe a bit early. or if it's 7:00 in the evening, that means I should be sitting on a plane.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7 meaning 7 tonight, 7 this morning.
Yeah. So. That's interesting. But, yeah, that's what happened. On that Matt Leon today, we're going to talk about the Eagles. And they are a number 1 seed home underdog.
How about that?
Well, that's when you have Matt Ryan against Nick Foles. And let's be honest about it, the Eagles on offense. The game they played with, I don't care what they did against the Cowboys. I think that's irrelevant. I mean, that was like a glorified 4th preseason game. But I mean that to me is, who cares? We'll also have Dieter Kurtenbach on today, 3:35 from the San Jose Mercury News. Looking forward to talking with him.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had him on the show.
Yeah. So we'll get him on to talk about a wide variety of things. We'll talk to Dieter. But, see, that... so you got the national championship game tonight. Now, Jalen Hurts has what I call, like stats mean nothing. Like his stats, like 61 or 62% completions, right? Okay. Hey, you can now have a little contest, like who's more accurate as a quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Blake Bortles? I mean, it's a real competition.
Wouldn't take much to win it.
I mean, Hurts has such mediocre accuracy. It is stunning. He is about to make his 28th start. 28th start in his career. And he is no better now at throwing the football than when he started game 1. No better. Now, as a runner, he is off the charts. He is tremendous as a runner. Judgment, speed, power. I mean, he really is a fabulous runner.
Oh, just a quick glimpse. If you had no idea he was a quarterback, you take a look at him. No, there's no way he's a quarterback. He just has that build.
He's an NFL tailback. I mean, I had somebody say to me, like, well, maybe he gets to the next level. I said, as a quarterback? I said, are you kidding me? I mean, you have to be kidding me. There's no way this guy plays quarterback at the next level. No way. He's not good enough. Now, is he good enough to win tonight's game? Of course he is. But this is college. It's a different ball game. But he is not in any way, shape, or form an NFL quarterback. No way on the planet. And I mean, he just doesn't. I mean, the number one premium I put on quarterback evaluation is accuracy. Arm strength is important. There's no question about that. I mean, but you need to have arm strength in combination with accuracy. You need that.
The funny part is there have been so many quarterbacks from Alabama that had such stellar careers with the Crimson Tide that couldn't take it to next level. But the thing is, though, their body type doesn't even compare to Jalen Hurts.
Right. But, there's no cradle of quarterbacks. There is no cradle of quarterbacks where you go there and, like, your trip to the NFL begins here. There's no school like that. I mean, I've gone, and we've played that game where I've gone through all the starting quarterbacks and what college they're from. Right? I mean, does Drew Stanton count? I mean, Carson Palmer really is the starter in Arizona, so that takes Michigan State down to one, Kirk Cousins. But everybody else? Yeah, how many times have I done that? Let's see. Miami of Ohio, Delaware, Notre Dame, and TCU. Those are the starting quarterbacks in the AFC South. You want to go to the AFC East? Michigan, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M or Vanderbilt. Take your pick with the Dolphins. And where was McCown from? Louisiana Tech, something like that. I mean, Petty's from Baylor. But I mean, no matter where you go, doesn't matter. Let's go out to the NFC West. USC, Wisconsin by way of NC State, Eastern Illinois, and Cal. I mean, have I named two of the same so far?
Mm-mm.
No, I mean, there's no cradle of quarterbacks in the NFL. AFC West, you've got NC State.
Yep, there's our duplicate. Kind of, sort of.
Well, no, because Russell Wilson's out of Wisconsin.
That's true.
Okay, so he's really,
Put an asterisk next to that.
I mean, I mentioned NC State because he started there, but then he went to Wisconsin.
There for a cup of coffee.
Right. So you got NC State in the West, Utah.
Derek Carr was what, Fresno State?
Fresno State and Northwestern. Because I'll take Trevor Siemian with Northwestern.
Yep.
All right. AFC East, North Dakota State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Michigan State. Let's go to the Central, or the NFC North. Georgia, Houston, Cal. That's two Cals, Goff and Rodgers. And North Carolina, Trubisky. NFC South, you've got Boston College,
Florida State, Auburn, Florida State.
Auburn, Florida State, and Purdue.
There you go.
AFC South, you've got Central Florida, Stanford,
Oregon,
Clemson, and Oregon.
Yeah.
Hey,
Cal's the only duplicate. Boy, I would not have guessed that.
Cal's the only duplicate with Goff and Rodgers, and they've been separated by a dozen years. It's not the same coaching staff. Is there any division we missed? AFC North, South, West, AFC West, AFC South. No, we got them all.
Yeah.
I mean, Cal is the only school that has 2 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. That's it. There is no cradle of quarterbacks on the college level. Where you go there, you are punching your ticket to the next level, or you're giving yourself the best shot to do it. Everybody's running RPO these days. That's why it's going to be difficult for these teams to evaluate quarterbacks moving forward. But Jalen Hurts, he has no accuracy. No accuracy. He does not lead players into yards after the catch. It's a station-to-station passing game. And the receivers, if they get any yards after the catch, they're doing it on their own. I mean, as a runner of the ball, he's dynamic. Calm, cool, collected, makes moves, powerful. And as a thrower, because he is a thrower and not a quarterback. And again, this is his 28th start, so they don't exactly do what you call down there this awesome job of developing whatever. Not really. All right, we'll take a break, come back with more in a moment. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Great to be with you today. You got up to like 35 degrees here today. Felt like 100. It's so cold out.
Who would have thought by the end of the week we have a shot at 50?
I know. How about that? Yep. And then I look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 22, 20, 24. This is just a brief reprieve. But it's a reprieve we'll take. I've been doing the little house on the prairie thing over here with the wood stove. I tell you, I love wood, man.
You knocked the dent in the pile a little quicker than you thought.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. I tell you, keep stoking. Oh, my goodness. Dieter Kurtenbach, we'll talk about Jon Gruden next half hour. And then Matt Leon on the Eagles. They get ready for the Falcons in the playoffs this weekend. Should be a very interesting game. The Eagles' defense is going to have to win it. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Purdy's have served this valley for decades, giving their customers the best insurance, whether it's auto, home, life, business. All right. Okay. But they'll always find the right price, the best price. They'll check and make sure you're getting the best price. And if something happens to you, they're your partner in this. They'll go to work as if it happened to them. That's Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. I'm in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Tomorrow's show will be in Bloomington tomorrow as Penn State takes on Indiana tomorrow night. Very pleased to be joined by the outstanding columnist from the San Jose Mercury News and also host of the Daily Dieter podcast, and that's Dieter Kurtenbach. Welcome back, my friend. It's great to hear you.
Great to hear you guys, too. How you doing?
We're doing well, and we hope you're doing well.
I am. I mean, how could I be complaining working as a Bay Area sports columnist? It's every day up here. It's insane.
Yeah, every day. I mean, I don't care whether the Giants are making a move or the Warriors are doing something. The 49ers got better, and then there's Jon Gruden.
Jon Gruden. That's right.
The Gruden thing is interesting. It's been a while since he's coached. In his last 6 years, he was something like 45 and 54 and didn't make the playoffs one time. Yet he's considered to be the magic bean. So what is the reaction in the Bay Area to temporarily having Jon Gruden be a coach there?
They love it. I think that specifically Raiders fans are just over the moon with this concept. He's an ideologue. He's a grand poobah, and longtime Raiders fans know that Al Davis's greatest mistake was trading away Jon Gruden. And they never really forgave him for that because he was so in sync with the fan base. He just fit. He just fit perfectly. Really bright guy, really smart guy, but had that edge that you kind of need to have if you're going to be involved with the Raiders, especially under Al Davis. Now, all of the things that you said are very real concerns, but right now I think Raiders fans are so pleased that Mark Davis, who just a couple of months ago was, pulling his pockets out and saying they were empty, put big money on the table, made a big, bold move, fired Jack Del Rio, which is something that just sort of had to be done given the way the Raiders played this year and given all the problems that he had in the locker room and in expressing what his ideas for the Raiders and their future were going to be. He was clearly not the guy to take that team to Las Vegas. And given the financial situation this team has, they need to make back a lot of money before they get to Vegas, just so that they can, break even within a couple of years if they're lucky. Jon Gruden's going to sell seats, and he's going to sell seats in Oakland. He's going to sell seats in Las Vegas. He didn't really have a choice to do it, but just having this guy, he's so affable. I mean, you don't get paid $6.5 million at ESPN. You don't get Corona commercials if you don't have some sort of charm, if you don't have something that, that the everyman loves. And, Raiders fans love him. Now we'll see if he's any good of a coach.
Yeah, exactly. See if we can get back and do that again. If you're Derek Carr, how happy are you today?
I think he is nervous. I think Derek Carr could be an exceptional quarterback, an all-pro level quarterback.
Agreed.
A true with Jon Gruden's system. Jon Gruden's system is tailor-made for a guy like him. If he can get the small things right, he has the arm talent to become great. Now, the thing that we've seen with Derek Carr over his career is they've been working in pretty much a spread offense. And that means he got the big things right a lot, and the small details, the little stuff, that fell by the wayside. They just sort of took it out of the offense. They were a big go big or go home kind of offense. And you saw the cracks in that system this year where they had disjointed play calling. Carr couldn't execute basic stuff. It became problematic. Jon Gruden's going to put this guy on the fire. He is going to say you have to – we've seen Jon Gruden's history with quarterbacks. He would prefer to have a guy who is an offensive coordinator to a guy who can throw the ball 50 yards down the field. He doesn't care. As long as you can deliver it accurately within 15 yards, you're good. So he'll go with Brad Johnson. He'll go with Rich Gannon, who had a little something extra, which made him an MVP. He'll go with lesser guys so long as they fully 100% comprehend and know the offense. And Derek Carr, to this point in his career, has not shown the ability to fully understand, comprehend, and then make changes that make sense to both the offensive coordinator and the coach at the NFL level. And so he's going to have to learn it all in 1 year. And that's going to be a big old challenge. Now, if he masters that challenge, look out. I mean, that Hall of Fame career, I'm not even half joking about that, could be in the limelight because he had all the skill sets of a guy named Brett Favre. And we saw what Brett Favre do when he got the details right in Green Bay and Mike Holmgren, who brought up Jon Gruden in his West Coast offensive system. He got the little things right, and then he was able to kill you down the field whenever he wanted. And that kind of talent exists in Derek Carr, but we have to see if he can handle the small stuff. And Jon Gruden is going to really hold him accountable to that.
Give me the importance of Jon Gruden hiring the right defensive coordinator based on some of the talent the Raiders have on that side of the ball.
Yeah, it's huge, specifically because he's an offensive guy. And being out of the league for 10 years, I think the things that usually go are, sort of those details towards the other side, those head coaching tendencies, understanding the correct amount of touch that you have to give. How much leeway do you give a defensive coordinator? There is a lot of talent on that side of the ball. They also need a lot of help on that side of the ball in the draft and in free agency. But when you have Khalil Mack, you have a chance to be a league average defense on one guy alone. And if they can be just league average and Jon Gruden can bring in the offense that I think so many expected out of the Raiders this year, if he can actually bring that in this year, now we have a playoff team. So getting a guy who can not only, put Khalil Mack in the right spots, and I think that the Raiders did that once they switched over to John Pagano in the second half of last season, which just ended. They were shown a little bit more. That's good, but also being able to sort of minimize the deficiencies of that defense, go into coverages that maybe give them a little bit more leeway than they probably deserve. That's something they have not been able to do at all so far, specifically in the Jack Del Rio era, which is ironic because he's a defensive-minded head coach. It'll be interesting to see how much leeway Gruden gives. His problems in the past have come from micromanaging and from being a perfectionist. And just being out of the league for 10 years, he's going to have to give a lot of leeway to the right defensive coordinator, and we'll just see how that relationship goes. I think Terrell Austin is going to be on this staff from everything I'm hearing. That's a great hire. That's a tremendous hire. And and he's a guy who specifically teaches, man-matching quarters coverage, and that's something that the Raiders have tried to do now for 2 years and have not been able to execute it. I think that's a really good sign if Austin does sign up with the Raiders, because I think it shows that Jon Gruden understands the deficiencies and is trying to attack them head-on instead of trying to sort of rebuild from a weird state of in-between.
For a young person, Jon Gruden to them is the Monday Night Football guy, and as you said, sitting on a beach with Coronas. So it's been 10 years. So what kind of research did you have to go back through, even yourself, just to make sure you had the Gruden story on coaching correct? Because obviously you've got a lot of people who just assume he was just the awesome, the best, the greatest. I won 20 championships.
100%. Yeah. Well, luckily Jon Gruden wrote a very bad book. And I was able to get through that pretty easily. And so I have the full Gruden backstory from his standards. Rich Gannon has been a nice resource. There have been a lot of really good resources. Right. And luckily, John isn't this sort of happy-go-lucky, lovable guy to where people are afraid to sort of say the bad stuff about him. I mean, John is what he is. And a lot of people are willing to, highlight sort of the deficiencies because he's been open about them himself. And the other thing, too, I mean, this seems so trivial and basic, but, he's been on TV for 10 years, and ESPN has not lacked airtime with Jon Gruden on it. So just going on YouTube and just listening and picking up tidbits and nuggets and stuff has been really quite interesting, and it's put a lot of thoughts in my head over, okay, he said this one time. Is this something that he actually believes, or is he just filling up airtime? And it's a very weird experiment, I'll tell you, because the West Coast offense that Jon Gruden wants to run, the West Coast offense that he ran in Oakland and then in Tampa Bay, that can't really exist in the NFL in its pure form anymore. And to be out of the league for 10 years, perhaps he spent those 10 years evolving. He's had as good of resource in terms of tape and, time as any coach in the NFL has. He's had way more time, and he's had just as good tape. And he uses it every day at 4:30 in the morning in that Tampa strip mall. Has he used that time, has he used those opportunities to evolve his offensive system? I know that he's been essentially updating his 2008 Tampa Bay offensive playbook for 10 years now. Has he been evolving it, or is he going to come in and try to do the same stuff? Because if he does try to do the same stuff that he was doing in Tampa, that's not the reason he got run out, but he'll get run out of this Oakland job fairly quickly because that stuff just doesn't work anymore.
I know the Raiders have options to go on the Coliseum there before Las Vegas. Is it, 2 more years to go? Does that sound right?
Yeah, Yeah, 2 more years. We'll see if they remove the tarps in any of those 2 years. They might actually with Gruden. It's a mess. This whole thing's a mess. And this only highlights how big of a mess it is. I mean, the Raiders had to go out and give Jon Gruden a $100 million contract because they are so desperate. Mark Davis has $850 million in loans taken out right now so that he can move to Las Vegas. And if they're not selling seats, if they don't, the PSLs, the personal seat licenses that they're going to sell, most of that is already just sort of built-in cost. So that doesn't even attack the principal on those loans. They need to become an elite NFL franchise right quick because they've been operating with about half of the profit of most NFL teams forever. And now they need to get up to that level and then some. And they're betting that Jon Gruden's the guy to do it. And that is literally a huge financial bet, and it's a huge bet just knowing that this guy hasn't coached in 10 years. I mean, it's bizarre. But then again, when you hang around the Raiders long enough, bizarre becomes the norm.
Dieter, this will be the second time that the Raiders, despite having great attendance and being a very supportive market, this will be the second time they'll lose the Raiders. What's it like now? Is it like making the death march there, or is there a lot of denial there about them leaving?
A lot of denial. Denial might be too strong. I think that the fan base is so rabid that I think that they're cool with it. I think that they'll just drink any Kool-Aid that the Raiders hand out. And that's a bit concerning just for other reasons, but they're cool with it. And if I was someone, if I had the money to invest, I would buy a budget airline that had routes between the Bay Area and Las Vegas, because I think that there's going to be a huge group of people who just get on the cheapest possible flight every weekend. And this is going to really reinvigorate the L.A. Raiders base. And I was just down there for that final Raiders-Chargers game that was in L.A., and it was a bizarre experience there inside that soccer stadium. It was easily 80% Raiders fans. And living in L.A. for 2 years, people would tell me all the time, like, okay, the Rams are back and the Chargers are coming, but this is a Raiders town. Like, the Raiders are still the predominant force inside the L.A. media market. Las Vegas is a lot closer, and that route's a lot more well-tread than Oakland or the Bay Area to Vegas. I think that they're going to be able to get people in the seats if that team is good. And because it's the 40th largest media market in Vegas, they're just not going to have enough people to demand it. The casinos will fill up a ton of seats and a ton of boxes, but when you have to fill up the upper tank, that's going to be tough. If that team's good, people will commute from California. If that team's not good, those seats are going to be empty, and they're going to be handing them out, and they're going to be sucking a tailpipe when it comes to the cash of it, because it's so bizarre. I mean, people will follow this team anywhere. They won't put their money down necessarily, and that's different than pretty much any other fan base I've experienced in football. When the 49ers started stinking, people stopped going, and they stopped spending money on them.
Right.
This team, they'll spend money on them. They call it the nation, all that stuff. They're all in, but I don't know if they're all in enough to go watch a 5-11 team play in Nevada.
Now, what does this do, you think, down the road for Bay Area football? Because you and I both know, I mean, Santa Clara is not the Bay Area. All right, I mean, it's just not. So San Francisco, Oakland, which at one point had franchises separated by 8 miles, now we're going to have a team in Santa Clara, and that's it. Right.
It'll be really interesting to see if any Raiders fans divert, or desert the nation and go down to the 49ers. Because the other thing, too, is I think that Mark Davis, maybe this is something in the back of his head, and this has been brought up to me by several people around him. They see that the 49ers are doing well, and they understand that, it only takes about 30. I drive down there all the time. I live in Oakland. I drive down to Santa Clara. It takes me about 40 minutes. It's not great, not easy, but it's doable. It's better than Foxborough. And the 49ers are playing a really attractive brand of football. They got Jimmy G. Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing. That team is on the rise, and it's exciting to be around that team. And the Raiders, no matter how good they are, they're leaving. And if they're bad, if the Raiders are bad again another year, you could just see a bunch of people go, they're gone anyway. I'm just going to start this conversion process over to a 49ers fan. They have to compete inside their own market right now just for seats, just for the casual fan. And it'll be really interesting to see how many Raiders fans exist once they move back to Vegas. I think it's entirely dependent on how good the team is, because they're so loyal. If the team is good, they'll stick with them. If they're no good, they're willing to write them off. But I'll never be able to fully predict what Raiders fans will do. It makes it fun, but it's also very challenging.
Yeah, right, and I know it's across the bay, but the Warriors are leaving too. They're going back to San Francisco. And the oddity is you look at ABC's primetime Saturday night game, the Warriors are on 4 of the first 5 broadcasts. They're a national brand. What's it like being around that group?
Well, it's really excellent to be around that group, though. I remember when I was first around that group in the 2014-2015 season, their first title season, it was so much different. It was like comically different. There's 5 or 10 people that would show up for every game in terms of the media. We would be on, first name basis and just shooting it in the locker room. Now you can't move. I mean, and I think that part of it, the old Oracle Arena, which is, we'll be honest, it's a dump, especially compared to some of these palatial estates teams are in. It just kind of let it go, just for the sake of everybody in the media being A-OK with the move over to San Francisco, because anything to get us out of here with all these people. It has been interesting in Oakland, though, because the A's wanted a new ballpark in downtown Oakland. They were the team that really, they marketed that they were going to be the one Oakland team. And there's been a lot of snags and snafus when it came to the ballpark they wanted. And now there's a very real risk that the Oakland A's leave, too. And so Oakland can go from 3 teams, and especially like last year, 2 teams really good and an A's team on the up, to none in a very short period of time. And that would be very interesting because by all other accounts, Oakland and the East Bay is booming, but they might lose all 3 of their professional sports teams in a very short window of time. And I'm not really sure what to read into that other than people really hate public funding for stadiums.
Yeah, it's a bad time to do it because people don't want, if they look at teams making money hand over fist, and they don't want to do it. So
No.
Dieter, it is always a pleasure. I could talk to you for hours. Appreciate the time very much. Look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Absolutely, Steve. Talk to you soon.
Hey, have a good time with Gruden, all right?
Oh, my God. It's going to be a blast. I've never looked forward to a press conference more than this one. It's going to be so weird. I can't even tell you. I'll follow up with the report.
I look forward. That's great. I look forward to that. Thanks, Dieter.
Thanks, dude. Later.
We'll come back with more in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance.
There are a lot of places to get insurance coverage, but only one place in the Susquehanna Valley ready to put 4 generations of experience to work for you. Hi, I'm Adam Purdy. At Purdy Insurance, we take the time to talk with you and find the right coverage for your needs. Everyone's situation is unique, so our approach is to customize coverage to best protect you. Whether it's home, auto, or business insurance solutions you need, call, email, or stop in to see how our commitment to personal service can help protect what matters to you.
You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. You can hear us anywhere in the world with the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation app.